Hey everyone, Bryant Cook here at theepicstorm.com, and today we're going to talk about our favorite Legacy deck and what's been going on with it. So in front of you is the Epic Storm deck version 7.0, and you might have seen my tournament report from last weekend at the Leaving a Legacy Open 3. I came in 4th place, and I made some pretty significant changes to our deck. So we're going to start our way on the left and just move over. So you'll notice that there's a Scalding Tarn here and a basic island. I went through some phases over the last few months. I was trying out Mox Opal, and Mox Opal was fantastic. I liked it a lot, but we just don't play enough artifacts to support it, and I wanted something a little bit more consistent. So if you look at the metagame, Delver Secrets decks with the Wasteland, that's blue-white and blue-red, are both playing Wasteland now. And those decks are extremely popular. Another really big deck that over the last few months is Dragon Stompy, and that plays Blood Moon. So it seemed to me that Basic Island would be a great inclusion over something less consistent like Mox Opal. The format isn't really about combo or fast kills or so many different other things, and speed isn't everything. As much as I love killing people on turn 1, and I really do, it's not everything in a matchup, and I felt like we were sacrificing a little bit too much for that extra explosiveness. So I wanted the Basic Island back, and here it is. So that brings me to my next point. There are no Mox Opals in my list. I tried 2, I tried 1. 2 months ago I tried 4 and 3, but I've been cutting them down slowly because we just don't have enough playable artifacts, and I think we will get there at some point. Mox Opal is the future of the Epic Storm. I'm saying it now, it's the future. We're just waiting on another playable Storm artifact, and right now we don't have that. So ideally, we wouldn't be playing 14 lands. We could be playing 12 with 4 opals or something similar to that. And then maybe not Rite of Flame, depending on what this new artifact would be. But for right now, this is what we have to work with. This is what we're playing. And I'm fairly happy with it. I did really well, and I've been doing well with this deck list. So 4 Thoughtseize is pretty standard. 2 Duress, 2 Cabal Therapy. So if you watched my Legacy Challenge from a couple weeks ago, I believe it was 3 weeks ago at this point, I was running 3 main deck Cabal Therapy, 0 Duress. Before that, I was running 3 Duress, 0 Cabal Therapy, and it turns out that I think a mixture of the two is what's best. So Duress is best against decks with Chalice of the Void, Churnosphere, Thorn of Damnithist, those sort of things. It's also best against decks that are also trying to kill you on turn 1 or turn 2, whatever. Basically guaranteed hits that when you can't afford to miss and lose. Cabal Therapy is much better against fair decks, so Death and Taxes, Maverick, Stoneblade, Delver decks, Miracles. Those are the decks where I think Cabal Therapy you gain a little bit more out of, and its synergy with Empty the Warren. So it makes sense that it's not as good if your opponents are trying to kill you quick and you can't afford to be wrong. So in the end, I think a split is likely what's best. And in the main deck, that's it. Those are the changes. In the sideboard, you'll see 2 copies of Chain of Vapor. So if you haven't been following it recently, those were copies of Tormod's Crypt, but the Phoenix deck has fallen out of favor. And some people are still playing it. I lost to it in the top 4 of the Leaving a Legacy Open, but it's just not as popular as it once was. And in the Legacy playoffs, my only losses were to fair decks playing hate pieces. So it doesn't make sense if I'm beating every blue deck to not be playing more answers to non-blue decks. So here are copies of Chain of Vapor. 3 empty, 2 Hope of Gearper, pretty standard. Pulverize, it's been around for a while. Dark Petition, Tendrils, Grape Shot. I do think that Grape Shot right now is a metagame call. You could be playing a Massacre with Blue-White Delver being everywhere. I do think it's a reasonable choice. It kills aggressive starts out of them, like turn 1 Delver into turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic or even True Name Nemesis. So it can buy you a lot of time. I just think I want Grape Shot if I'm still running 4 copies of Empty. I want that little bit of extra push to finish off games where maybe my final Goblin tokens didn't get there. And then the last slot is the copy of Cabal Therapy. There are no Past in Flames in our deck list. 0. Zilch. AJ Kerrigan, he was convincing everyone in the TES community to stop playing Past in Flames. He said he wasn't using it. So if you read my report, I mentioned how I started tracking over 1,000 matchups. I only used it roughly 3% of the time. And of that 3% of the time, there was certainly games where I didn't need to use it. So I could have used Dark Petitioning to ad nauseum, or Dark Petition to empty, or just empty the warrens in the sideboard. You didn't really need the Past in Flames. So we're running a Cabal Therapy there. What this allows for is for your copies of Burning Wish or Infernal Tutors to post-empty the warrens, get a discard spell that's going to wreck your opponent. So we have at least one empty in the main, or I'm sorry, one copy of Cabal Therapy in the main, and then one copy of Cabal Therapy in the board. So we have 8 tutors to get our therapies, and when you're running 4 empties, this is super strong. I've also used Cabal Therapy to side in against non-blue decks. So if I'm facing a Thalia deck, I'll board out a Duress, and then the other Dress and 4 Ponders for 5 bounce spells and a Duress. I've certainly boarded in Cabal Therapy against some other combo matchups here and there. In general, I think I'm using that slot more than I would Past in Flames, and I've been super happy with it. So once again, this is the Epic Storm deck list 7.0. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. But this is it. I think I've covered everything since my last few videos. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I greatly appreciate it, and keep storming.